I have a sore throat. I don't think you can hear it, but if you can, apologies, Queen. Anyway, let's go on with it. I've always wanted children and I've always been quite a maternal person. It's always been one of my biggest fears that I'm going to coddle my children, wrap them up in cotton wool, or worry about them so much to the point where it may cause strain on our relationship because I am a quite overprotective person and I do struggle with anxiety or anxious thoughts sometimes for myself but also for those I love and or care for. I've gotten better at recognizing these thoughts and like calming myself down or getting out of a spiral before a spiral actually begins. But when I was younger, I used to worry so much about my loved ones, especially my younger siblings. I don't know if it's because I'm an anxious or was a very anxious person in general and just a protective person in general, or because I'm the oldest out of my siblings, or maybe it's a mix of both. But I've always been wildly protective over my siblings, which is funny because I don't think a lot of people would think of me as protective or overprotective, or at least not in the typical sense, because I don't really show it outwardly. Also, I'm just quite short. I'm quite a short, small gal, so I don't really look that intimidating, although my best friend did say that I have a resting don't fuck with me face, so maybe I might look intimidating for that reason. But I think overall people don't generally have that idea about me, which is good in a way because they say it's better to be underestimated than overestimated, so there's that. I also think I'm quite a chill person, or at least I try to be. That's my natural resting sort of baseline, I would say. I've been told by people that I seem quite chill and, I'm quiet maybe, or I don't really fight to get my voice heard. I observe most situations, so I'm not really a standout in a group or anything. I'm not really commanding the energy in the room, so to speak. So yeah, it's hard to imagine me as this big protector figure that is typical, I guess. I also just find it funny that my siblings are also the type of people that would be like, "Ew, why are you worrying over me? I'm fine. I don't need protecting. Please chill. You're being weird. I'm fine." But I do worry, and it was so bad when I was a child or when I was younger that I didn't like watching horror movies. Because instead of being scared for myself, I would be scared for them because my brain would be like, oh, imagine this happening to your younger siblings. And then I would get super paranoid and just get really anxious for them. Even if the film was super unrealistic and would never really happen in real life, just thinking about them in pain and also not being able to do anything about it is essentially my worst nightmare. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that in general, just like seeing people you love in pain and not being able to help. Wow, that was dark. Also, okay, I feel like we need to bring the vibes up a bit for a second, so this is a side note, but I remember like a year ago now, I watched this documentary on Bigfoot. I'm always watching Bigfoot documentaries or something, because I love Bigfoot. I don't know if Bigfoot exists, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, it's fun to imagine that Bigfoot does exist, and we need a bit of like mystical, fun vibes in the world, so I'm just gonna believe that Bigfoot exists. Anyway, I was watching a Bigfoot documentary, and it was basically like one of those documentaries you get on like the channel that like your mum watches at like 9 p.m. on a Saturday or something. And it was basically like an eyewitness documentary. Like they didn't really try and find proof or look at the history. It was just people talking about their experiences. And there was now I can't remember whether he was like an adult at this time or if they were interviewing a teenager, but there was basically this guy who was telling a story about how he lived kind of out in the woods with his family and he had two younger brothers. He was the oldest. And apparently they were playing in the woods one day and they came across what they believed to be Bigfoot. He ran away and he left his younger siblings, his younger brothers, in his dust. Apparently they were all running. He ran back to the house. He got to the house before his younger brothers. And you know what he did? He slammed the door behind him. He ran in the house, locked the door behind him. His brothers were banging on the door to be let in because they thought they were going to get, like, they were seeing their life flash before their eyes, basically, because of this weird creature coming after them. They were banging on the door, let us in, let us in. And this big brother, who was supposed to, protect his younger siblings or whatever, didn't open the door. His little brothers were pounding on the door, terrified, and he just didn't open the door. To be honest, I was watching the documentary and I had to pause it out of just sheer shock. Like, I was shook. And also a bit angry, because I was like, as an oldest or older sibling, like, I can't fathom leaving my younger siblings out there like that. I know our brains and our bodies do weird things when we're like under attack or under threat or something. Unfortunately, I feel like I am a freeze girly in situations, so I would just be freezing in the woods, and I would be the bait for my younger siblings to get away. But that aside, I just can't fathom doing that. First of all, my younger siblings are both taller than me, and they are both more athletic than me. I am the creative writing drama kid, sensitive one of the family. My younger siblings are the smart athletic ones. So they would have left me in their dust, but I would be okay with that. I would be like, you know what, I'm the oldest. There. Yeah, I take it upon myself to be the protector, and I will be eaten by Bigfoot so you can get away. But yeah, I was low-key really angry and shook that big brother would just leave his younger brothers like that. So yeah, but no, I had a great time watching that Bigfoot documentary. But my point is, I feel like I take my role of big sister very seriously, and perhaps sometimes too seriously, to the point where it's like to my own detriment, through no one's fault but my own, by the way. I just want to make that clear. Like, I haven't been pressured at all by my siblings or my parents to, like, oh, you're the oldest, so that means that. It's purely from just like getting in my own head and wanting my loved ones to be okay. I think one of the hardest lessons in life is just learning that you are not responsible for anyone else's emotions apart from your own. And as much as you want to try and protect someone or love them or help them change or make them happy, only they can do that for themselves, and you cannot. I know obviously you can love and protect and help someone change, but overall it is down to them to receive this love or to make good decisions for themselves or to make changes to, help them improve or whatever. It goes back to that saying of just, you cannot help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Also, essentially, life and things just happen that are out of our control. We can only control ourselves and how we react to these things. You just have to let people be their own person and live their own lives. I think why I wanted to talk about this was that I saw a TikTok the other day that was basically this woman filming herself, and she looked like she was outside at night time. She was in the city and she was all dressed up and she was like, serving. She was gorgeous, whatever. And the writing over the video was basically her talking about how she was the oldest daughter and the oldest sister, and she had to pay for her sister's meals and everything, and then she had to, another sister was staying with her or meeting her, which she had to pick up and then take her shopping or something like that. Just basically talking about how, like, oh, as the oldest daughter, like, I have to do this for my sisters, or I'm expected to do this, or being the older sister means that I have to do this, whatever. And it made me feel like shit, honestly. Because it basically made me feel like I had failed, like I was being a bad sister, or like I was just a bad example. And I really am kind of dealing with these thoughts in general. I'm going through a rough patch right now with unemployment. I know there are many people my age in the same boat as me, so I get it. I'm sending you love and good vibes if you were in that boat. These times are just really tricky to navigate, and this was not what I was imagining when I left my postgraduate studies, and I don't feel like I'm really a good example to my siblings right now. And I know this sounds so weird and wrong, or like, what are you even talking about? It's so silly because I feel like if I wasn't the oldest and maybe I was even the youngest, I might not be so hard on myself. Or maybe it would shift to another negative mindset of, oh, well, now I have to do good things because my older siblings have done good, or something like that. So maybe there is no winning, but there is that sense of that stupid, silly pressure that we put on ourselves as the oldest child, or at least as I found, to do good or, be a good example or have it all together, even if it's not explicitly stated by our family or by society, there is still that underlying belief within us, or at least within myself, that says, okay, you're the oldest, you need to have it together, and you should have it together by now. Now, I don't know the TikTokers, I don't know her situation or her relationship with her sisters. I don't know if this was an expectation put on her. I don't know how old her siblings are and if they can afford to like do that for her yet. I don't know what the dynamics are, or, you know, whatever. I don't know her situation. But my point is that video made me think and reflect, and also just made me a bit angry and frustrated, I guess, because those are things that I would love to do for my siblings and things that I cannot do for them right now. I'm not mad at the person making the video, by the way. It more just brought up my own thoughts and feelings about my current situation and made me think, well, I would love to do that for my siblings, and I feel really frustrated that I can't right now. I am really, really lucky and blessed in the way that my siblings are really nice and kind. I would never expect or demand anything like that. Again, there was never really any expectation placed on me as the oldest. Again, it's just my own thoughts and feelings, and my siblings have always been kind and generous to me. I would never expect me to, you know, pay every time we hang out or pick them up every time we hang out, or, you know, I would just now more do that because I want to. And again, I'm not judging the girl in the video. I don't think there should ever be a pressure to pay every time or just do whatever every time just because you're the oldest. I think that's straight up wrong and just unfair. But I just get in my head a lot sometimes about how people perceive me, especially people that I want to make proud or, you know, to some extent impress. Again, as the oldest, I put that pressure on myself because I think as the oldest, there's all eyes on me, or, you know, I'm my siblings' example, or maybe because I have more life experience, I should be this wise, amazing person and support my siblings with great advice. But instead, in my current situation, I feel like a bit of a failure, and therefore I am finding that I am judging myself harshly and being completely unfair to myself. I think I feel it sometimes because growing up I was always the emotional one, or the sensitive one, or the one who was struggling with mental health. So I became almost embarrassed of myself. Because I was the oldest, I felt even more like I was being a bad example, or my siblings just thought I was a bad example, even though that was just me projecting my thoughts about myself onto what I thought other people were thinking about me. Right now, this current phase of my life, I am struggling, and I am the kind of person who doesn't like people seeing me in a struggle, but I can't really pretend that I have a job, or that I have money, or that I'm just smiley and feeling good all the time right now. And it was only until my sister said some things to me that my mindset shifted, and even though I do still struggle with feeling negatively about myself, her words helped me a lot to feel good about the kind of person I am and what I'm trying to do. So about a month back, or a couple months back, my sister came home for a little visit during the summer from university, and we had planned to go out together. I needed to get some groceries. I wanted her to come along and just have some time with me, get a coffee maybe after, whatever. And something happened right before we were about to leave, which really, really upset me, really got to me. Just completely ruined the vibe of the day and my good day. It made me feel again just like such a failure and an embarrassment, and I felt just so bad. And I walked out the house trying not to cry, and I said to my sister, hey, I'm so sorry, but can we just walk right now? I can't even think about anything else, and I'm just so upset, and I feel like I need to cry. But I also didn't want to cry because I was in public, and that's embarrassing, and I didn't want to embarrass her. And she didn't care about that, by the way. We left the house, and 10 seconds later she kept asking me what was wrong. She gave me a hug. When I kept apologising, wiping my tears away, she was like, no, don't apologise. Like, she genuinely was just worried about me and concerned. She didn't give a crap about, you know, people seeing or whatever. But in my head, I didn't want to be seen in that moment. We got to a quiet road, thank God. And I basically broke down in tears and I told her everything. I also just told her my thoughts and feelings and how I felt about myself. I felt like I had been carrying a lot of negative thoughts and beliefs about myself for a long time, and that was kind of like the thing that like made it just all come out. And yeah, I also just said like how I must be such an embarrassment for her, and I'm not a very good big sister because my life is just not together, and even though I'm trying so hard to get it together, nothing works. And she just said the most beautiful things to me, and of course she said you're not a failure, and I don't think that, and I think you're a great big sister, and all of these things are out of your control, you can't help it, it's nothing you're doing, you're not doing anything. She said all the right things, she said all the great things, but then she says something else that I actually didn't expect and I didn't even think about. But she basically said, I actually think you're a great example to me because you're going after your dreams and it's not easy, but you're still doing it. And even though you're running into these setbacks or things not working out, you're still pushing through and you're still trying and believing in this dream you have. For context, I'm a writer, I'm writing, I want to publish books someday and all of that. But she was basically saying, hey, this isn't an ideal situation by any means. You're essentially isolated from your friends. You're doing everything you can to better your situation and be positive while living at home, which isn't the best sometimes. And then you're also pursuing this dream of yours and you're being persistent. And that is inspiring and that is a good example. And I realised in that moment that, yeah, I guess I am being too hard on myself, but also that my siblings probably didn't think any of those negative things about me at all. I am maybe not as alike to them as they are to each other, and sometimes I can beat myself up for feeling different or wanting different things, as opposed to maybe the general collective, but I think actually we all have our differences, and those differences are strengths, and I think a lot more people do recognise and admire them as strengths, even if we ourselves internally believe that we are being judged for them. And even if we are being judged for our differences by whoever, it's important for ourselves to remain true to who we are and to then ourselves recognise them as a strength rather than an embarrassment or something that makes us weak. And I'm very, very thankful for my sister for helping me recognise that. We're all just trying our best, and I think even if your siblings are judging you for it, or even if, someone is judging you for it, whatever, like, F them. You know what I mean?